Yeah, I know, the sighing sounds like an apology video, but hear me out on this. I know I just made a video about horror Spider-Man, but I'm making another Spider-Man video because this movie does nothing but live in my head rent-free, and hasn't paid the rent in a year and a half or 2 years. It hasn't paid the fucking rent. And judging by the title of what you saw the thumbnail, yes, what I am talking about is Spider-Man Lotus. I'll get into the nitty-gritty, that being the controversy behind the scenes, later in this video. But to actually properly begin this video without all the rambling, this was a fan-made film made on August 11th, 2023, and for some reason says August 5th on IMDb, and was backed by a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and it raised over $100,000. And 100k my ass because this movie can barely even keep my attention, and nor for anyone else. Oh, Silver, it's a fan-made project. It's because they love Spider-Man, and they have a passion for it. Don't they at least get a small pass for at least telling us the story? I have 3 reasons why I think that is stupid. 1. There is a team behind this. 2. Just because you made something that is very much you love doesn't give you the fast pass from no criticism, especially when it's a media that exists. You're going to get comments at all sorts of variety, whether you like it or not. As for the 3rd reason, you'll have to find out later in this video. So, without further ado, and unfortunately, let's get into this movie. We begin with a monologue before Peter chases a group of criminals. When they meet face to face, Shocker eventually comes out and charges a blast at Spider-Man before he dodges. And this wouldn't be a Marvel movie, even though it's fan-made, without name insulting.
You're Shocker suit. That's what you're called?
Yeah!
Wow. Did you come up with that yourself?
Hey, Editor OP Silver here. So you're probably wondering why the following footage is laggy and why everything else is in images. That's because downloading a whole 4K-ass movie is straight up impossible for my phone. And as you all know, I edit on phone because CapCut on Chromebook is absolute shit. And as for the laggy footage, this is because I'm screen recording with the Chromebook and constantly sending it to my Google Drive. Yeah, getting footage for this movie was absolute insanity, so, yeah, this is the best I could do. Continuing the video. Spider-Man defeats Shocker, then we cut to Peter going to a movie theater to the usual crew, Harry, Gwen, and Mary. I swear, I did not mean to make those names rhyme. Peter asks for dinner, but Gwen walks away. Harry talks to Gwen, saying that dinner's on him. After that scene, Peter shows Harry that he wants to confess to Gwen by showing him a ring. Harry says to not screw it up before going to the car with Mary Jane. Peter says he's sorry for being late for the date, and he wants to improve as a person. Though in the end, Peter doesn't get the courage to marry Gwen, or propose, I mean. They kissed at least. And judging from the intro, and in the midst of Spider-Man and Green Goblin's fight, she gets caught in the middle of it and dies. Then Green Goblin, in regular fashion turns out to be Norman Osborn, dies from his own jet. And the police immediately assume it was Spider-Man due to him fleeing the scene. Though that's not really a struggle throughout this movie, so who really cares? Peter goes to check on Gwen's grave, and Mary goes to check on him, only for him to be a straight-up asshole towards her.
Take this. It's for Spider-Man. Robbie, he was wondering if you could give it to him.
He's retired.
Yeah, you definitely didn't sound suspicious saying that, Peter. He opens the letter Mary Jane gives him, and it's for Spider-Man himself to see a child who has leukemia. Before we go through that though, Peter goes to Harry to wake him up to scold him for not showing up at Gwen's funeral. Oh, and get ready for everyone to be sad about Gwen's death, so if it seems like I skipped a few scenes in this movie, it's because it really likes to repeat itself. So now you know why. To be honest though, this is the only scene I find reasonable because Harry's father also died, so Peter also gets that. But that goes out the window because he tells Harry, oh, why don't you get out of the apartment? Get a hold of yourself, Peter. I get that this was an emotional outburst, but this is just out of Peter's character. Then we get a black and white shot of Peter meeting Gwen in an alley. Oh good, pointless bullshit. It's just Green Goblin in Peter's head. Peter wakes up from the nightmare and decides to get a cup of coffee. Peter finds a hard drive and oh my god, I get it! Honestly, I'm just gonna skip a huge chunk of this movie because it's literally nothing else but Harry walking. Shame too, because the Green Goblin and Spider-Man fight is actually somewhat decent. The only thing that really bugs me from this scene is that this should have been shown earlier, and it's a flashback, so it really just removes the pacing of the film. We finally get to the scene where Peter meets the kid with leukemia. At first, this scene is actually pretty wholesome, until...
What happened to the girl on the bridge?
Spider-Man, for some reason, starts trauma dumping to this child, then leaves afterwards. That was a very hard scene to watch. We cut to Flash talking to Mary Jane. We cut back to Spider-Man at the apartment, and he gets a little bit of a lashing from the mother, and saying that he needs to give that child something to believe. And for once, Spider-Man develops as an actual character. He goes back to the kid's room and goes through his scrapbook. Spider-Man reveals his identity as Peter Parker, and he gets asked if Spider-Man is back, and he's definitely back in the neighborhood, is what he says. Well, we can finally go into my actual thoughts. What do you mean there's still more? I can't take this shit anymore, man! Okay, we'll go with it. We'll go with this stupid movie. One huge monologue later, Harry, Mary, and Peter reflect on each other, and it cuts to a pizza place where Flash is having a party. Oh, and he's in the army, by the way. But Peter hears sirens, and that's his cue to be Spider-Man. Wait, that's it? It's just 15 minutes of credits? Oh, thank God, that's good for me. Wait, what do you mean we gotta go through the...
Spooderman, does Wooderman Spooder can you swing from his...
So, there were quite the stuff that happened behind the scenes of this film. To give you a quick summary, Warren Wayne, the actor for Spider-Man, was facing allegations for, well, I can't really say the word. Have you read To Kill a Mockingbird? Yep, hard R and everything. He gave his statement and made his post on Twitter, basically saying that he moved on and he was homeschooled. Take that for what you will.
But I'm not done yet!
The director for Spider-Man Lotus, Gavin, I'm hoping I pronounced that last name correctly, also got allegations himself. He was called out for all sorts of other things, including racism, funny enough, and was also accused for not paying the storyboard artists. Gavin would make a response video out of it, and I will leave a link in the description for you to judge yourself. I will not give my opinion on this. I want to leave this to the audience for them to judge themselves. So the reason why I mention all of this is because I want to give context as to why this is known as the racist Spider-Man film, and plus, do you remember the missing third reason from the beginning of this video? Well, here goes. Gavin himself admitted that he made this movie all because he didn't even like the other Spider-Man films from the MCU, and he wanted to be other fan films. My source from this comes from Webstar, by the way. Gavin, if you're somehow watching this video, I know that this is practically your dream ever come true ever since this film's release, but making a movie based off of negativity doesn't really bow well. A fan film is something that a fan of said franchise made because they really like it and have a passion for it. Props to putting effort into this film, but you can't really call this a fan film. It's also worth mentioning that before Gavin's response video was uploaded, the person that would make the VFX for Spider-Man Lotus would leave the project, and I don't blame them. Okay, so now getting back to the actual film, it was great visually, but not writing-wise. The scenes of everyone being sad for Gwen Stacy's death was dragged on way too much. There's even a scene of Harry doing nothing but walk around New York for like 2 minutes. This movie honestly did not need 2 hours. It should have been an hour at most by removing the unnecessary scenes, and it could flow a little bit more better. Spider-Man was straight up out of character, like him trauma dumping to a child. One thing that does genuinely surprise me is that despite the VFX being departed during the making of the movie, it still manages to look great. There were very few positives that I could have for this movie than the negatives, which I have a crap ton of. So the appropriate score, in my opinion, would be a 2 out of 10. It could have been better if they didn't extend scenes for too long, and if the writing didn't basically repeat itself. I'm OP Silver, signing off.
Oh, well, I hate Nick.